Hello everyone, what's up? I hope you're already having a nice day. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. So, let's start the topic. Today I will play a 2010 horror movie for you titled Devil. Be aware of spoilers and be careful. A worker is seen wiping off the interior of a structure when a body unexpectedly fails on the tracks outside. At a dinner, two men are conversing, discuss alcoholism with others and the significance of forgiveness for individuals. Similar to the person wearing the outfit who is alcoholic in recovery. According to the same one, forgiving is not easier. Following his family's ordeal and wishes they could have done so 5 years ago. Instead, discuss everyday topics. Later on, it is discovered that the same man is a detective as he goes beyond the bounds of the law. He is taken to a crime site by another police officer and displays the dented truck to him using a cadaverous body on top. He examines his body and glances up at the structure that encircles the truck. The other detective find a jump unbelievable. Using such a force can result in structures that are so teeny. The initial investigators observed that there is no glass on the nearby pavement, believes that it rolled out of the truck to the location where it was discovered. The two investigators turned a corner to locate a structure that would be more correspond to their crime scene. Next to a tower that appears modern, the one by one the characters are so introduced. The man with the hoodies is the first to linger. Afterward, the man wearing a red tie stepping past him and entering the security guard building comes next. Taking the phone at the front desk and the scene with the elderly woman standing in the corner of the lobby. Perplexed, followed by the young lady stepping into the lobby, going by the security officer at the reception. He stops the reception and signing at the back of the line the visitor's record. The other man is informed by the security guard in the waiting room where he must go to the 39th floor with a parcel and heads of the elevators. The man wearing a red tie and the elderly woman wants to enter an elevator. However, because of his fullness, they take the other one that just showed up without anything them. The security guard enters as they do. In with them as well, someone calls as the door begins to close, waiting outside and the young lady from prayer to walks into following her. Someone shouts and grabs the doors after nobody assists him and he lives within the same man who formerly wore a hoodie. All of them are inside. The elevator begins to move, although it's quite abruptly hurts and jumps. In the meantime, an elderly security officer is observing a hockey match in the central room of security. A younger security officer enters the room and they discuss the game. He observed that among the elevators, one is in examination mode, hence the more traditional security. The building engineer is contracted by the guard regarding the issue. As the engineer attempts to repair a shattered window in the upper part of the structure, the engineer is instructed by the guard to check on the elevator first. Due to the fact that they are individually trapped within the security man returned to the elevator. The elevator is becoming nervous. The elderly woman continues to question him about emergency protocols, but he is unaware of as he is a temporary man. The red-tied man strikes the button for emergencies and joins the previous So the woman's inquiries by inquiring as to why he lacks a voice is heard on the walkie-talkie from the communication system in the lift, letting them know he is aware of their predicament and that an engineer is en route. To determine what's not right, it's the older security guard conversing with them and asking them to speak into camera, which leads him to determine that there is a problem with the microphone and he is unable to hear them. The elevator security officer tries using his cell phone to call the lobby but does not receive any signal. Thus, the young lady hands her phone to him. The call is brief and quickly loses signal. The elevator begins to play music and the man singing in the red tie, bothering everyone within the structure. The engineer is en route to devise space at the top as his hat is blown off by the wind and he nearly topples over. Back down at the building's base, the two investigators are coming closer and speaking. Glass is covered by the diner detective. They spot a man on the sidewalk sweeping more glass close by. He instructs the man to cease doing so and designates the location as a crime site. A massive piece of glass that fell from the building nearly killed his partner validates what he suspected back in the constructing. The engineer might be seen examining the lift from the shaft. He informs the man's security room over the phone. Them that everything appears to be okay, but then you will restart it. The older security guard at the elevator's rear group is informed by the guard that there will be no illumination for roughly 20 seconds. When they arrive, the lights are off. Back on, the elderly woman yells at the security guard to leave her alone in order to which he regrets, stating to everyone that he is extremely the third man who feels cramped, pushes a panel from the elevator's top and air begins to enter. The security officer inquires as to whether they should attempt to ascend, but the other man says that climbing the cable is risky. The engineer returns to the machine room, inquires with the primary security if the reset worked, and upon their response, it didn't. He promises to go investigate the issue. The two security officers in the basement main security office discuss the building's damaged window and how perhaps someone leaped from it that good morning. The younger one is quite worried about. I hear that in the elevator, the red-tied man gives the elderly his business card to the lady. The gang strike up a discussion, spurred by a remark he makes regarding the elderly woman. He claims that he is able to tell whether a person is wealthy or not and contrasts the elderly woman to the young lady, claiming that the younger one's attire. She looks costly as she moves away from him, but responds promptly, stating that he took hold of her back as the lights in the elevator begins to flicker. In the main office, the senior guard make a call. If he is doing that, the engineer asks. According to the engineer, he is merely looking from below from the elevator and that it looks good from there as well. A lever on the side of the elevator and inquires if it's helpful. The senior security officer notifies that engineer nothing had changed. Thus he promises to return to the roof and manually reset it. The elevator's lights are flickering once more. They are observing it from the main workplace. When anything is noticed by the younger guard, he is frightened by something unusual on the TV. A peculiar noise is heard by the engineer and goes beneath the elevators. While pursuing it, he nearly gets crushed by descending the shafts in an elevator. The elevator lights are flickering once more and then leave entirely. There are odd sounds coming from the elevator. The lights flicker on and off. As soon as the light returns to the young lady is lying for the third time on the earth, the main office guards inquire as to what's occurring as the younger one becomes aware of that there is pain in the young woman's back. Inside, the folks are in a frenzy. A man observes that he is covered in blood and attempts to conceal it from the according to the young woman. It felt as if she had been bitten by something, thus the third man queries whether anyone has anything pointed that could have caused her harm. The elevator security guard then notices the red-skinned man blood tie. As he attempts to clarify that she simply landed on him, the guard goes to check for a weapon on him. The guards keeping an eye out for security room determines that they must contact the police. Given that an assault has now occurred inside the elevator outside the constructing, the dinner cop is speaking with forensics. When the elevator call comes in, he notices that the call is regarding the structure with the window smashed and except the case, taking his companion back to the younger. The younger guard at the main office discovers the video captured as soon as he noticed something odd on the screen, displays it to the older, who rejects it as mere grain. The younger one undoubtedly snatches his cross. Something sinister had caught his eye. However, the elder one tries to soothe him within the elevator. The third man and the security guard attempt to force the doors open. Even if they could, they are unsure of the whether the shaft has a hole in that day. They could assent to the elderly woman fears the elevator is simply hanging and could fall down. The red-tied man attempts to assist the doors with but he dispatched the separating the rear of the elevators from the other in order to monitor him. Still believing that the children were harmed by him and woman in the interim. When the two investigators reach the security office where the senior guard demonstrates the security camera to them and explains the attack. According to him, the other people in the think of the man in the red tie in the elevator was at fault. Once the investigators evaluates inform the security personnel of the situation that they ought to request to repairman from the lift business and shares his partner to make a fire department call. He then inquires as to who is inside, especially curious about the guard for security. Upon learning that he is a temporary employee, he instructs the security personnel in the main office to open his files. He hears from the younger guard about what he watched the video, but the guard dismisses it once more. The investigator rejects it as well and says the elevator's patrons to display their identifies the camera so that regrettably he can see who they are. The ID's writing is acceptable. Thus, the investigators and the more senior security guard visits the lobby to look the visitor's log and discover in the manner. After returning to the main security office, the younger guard is monitoring from the elevator security camera when the interior lights are flickering once more. Within the elevator, the young lady abruptly notices everyone vanish and resurface as lifeless bodies on the ground. After a moment, it seems as though that never occurred and everyone is in their proper position. The lights fully go out once more. The elevator's mirror breaks and there are odd sounds coming from the shadows. Once more, when the man is illuminated again, the person with the red tie turns out to be stabbed in the throat using a fragment of the mirror's glass. The younger guard, in the meantime, called the two detectives returned. They notice the man has passed away. Therefore, the detective requests assistance. As he begins watching the video, the younger guard begins describing to everyone to narrative. He claims that circumstances such as this always begins with a suicide, an individual suffering from when the devil is around. He occasionally assumes human form and tortures people with his final words. Is that an individual in the elevator could be the devil? The investigators show to no interest in what the guard is saying. Keep watching the video. Suspect the security officer in the murder may have been committed in an elevator. According to the partner, his papers demonstrate to be a violent criminal. Additionally, the gang in the elevator is discussing the potential identity of the murderer. The fire department shows up at the main security office building. The detective informs those within the location is a crime scene now. The investigator questions what actually occurred. It was an accident, yet some claim don't appear to be murderers. He has a thought and requests that one of them volunteer, after which Jesus instructs the man to retrieve a sheet of paper from the deceased man's pocket. A letter is held up to the camera by the man, which the office staff interprets and acknowledge that the deceased man who was going to see a person within the structure. The investigators visit the fire department initially, followed by the detective goes to the level of the dinner from the structure with a broken window. According to forensics, the suicide note, the jumper on the left is really odd. I can hear the devil's voice in the words. Footsteps approach the last written word. The firefighters try outside the elevator to force its doors open. However, they refuse to move within. One of the men are attempting to exit by trotting on top of the elevator, but he is pulled back by the security guard down, believing he is attempting to flee. The detective is conversing with the individual from the structure that was meant to encounter the deceased man on the elevator. He discovers he was a con artist and requested that they provide a list of the individuals he has defrauded. The people back at the elevator begin frisking each other. At the main security office, in the meantime, when the detective returns, he shares his partner that one of the individuals most likely failed to log in. If they intend to murder the man using, they would not be foolish enough. Red Tie to carry out that, he tells him and hands him the other list. He is contrasts the two. He then approaches the security personnel, and the youthful guard reveals the face to him from the video. However, the detective then reveals to him that the message of apology left by the individuals that murdered his spouse and child in a vehicle crash. He asserts that someone can be malevolent without the devil's assistance. As they converse, the old guard is looking over the video when he discovers the young woman's thought moment she is grabbed by someone. No one is seen doing in the video. The investigator believes she is lying and grows wary of her as well. People in the elevator are visible to them. frisking one another and instructing them to put an end to an quarrel begins inside the elevator. Backup and the elderly woman sentenced to the security guard was pepper sprayed. He takes her hand off of the spray in the principal security office. The engineer is being called by the senior guard, telling him to stop vanishing. The engineer is descending the elevator cord and are unable to obtain his using a walkie-talkie to respond. He slides a chain to cable down from his protective gear rips apart. The security guard inside the elevator is making fun of the elderly woman with the pepper spray that has expired. When a heavy object falls on the top of the elevator, the old guard voice can be heard. Top level voice. Suddenly, blood begins to flow in from the uppermost panel. The walkie-talkie is still audible to them and determine that the engineer is the one. They dropped that they are unable to shatter through the panel to assist the investigator in going to the roof to visit the engineer and check it on the shaft. Above the elevator, most likely Dead informs everyone that the elevator's occupants can hear the cellular phone and that they ought to change. He directs the fire department to enter the elevator by using the wall. He firefights begins excavating through the looking at the wall through the video in the observe. They observe at the main office that the elderly woman was preferring wallets. The investigator remarks that each one of them are evil people as he observed the display the security camera footage malfunction once more and displays all of the dead people inside. However, only the police officer can see that next the locket. Video featuring the third man and observed that when he walked he carried a knapsack within the lobby. However, there was no snatchel in the elevator. The elevator's light began to flicker once more. After that, leave the security guard's light on match and then an odd thing happens to him. When the old lights are turned back on, a woman is positioned on the side of the elevator, dead, which the detective observes on the screen and demands that the building be placed under lockdown. Everyone entering and heading to the lobby, the senior guard enters the basement. The younger guard and the detective are the sole individuals in the workplace. According to the younger guard, there is what makes them devil's viewers. The two men enter the elevator and take them, the elder woman body down. Meanwhile, the investigator search of the backpack and locate it in the bathroom close to the lobby. There are tools in the satchel that the employment of detective suspects to rig a lift. The younger person back in the main office when the guard is left alone, he begins praying over the internet. The elevator's patrons dislike. They converse briefly about what he is doing, but immediately the two men go into a brawl happens. The young lady is requesting to kill the other man. The security guard back at the main office, as the security is still hoping that the detective will arrive and observe the elevator's activity. They give the order for people to retreat and touch the walls. As the elevator's occupants settle down, the officer queries the younger guard about how his tales come to conclusion. They all die his way, he informs him. He is then informed by his companion that the woman also has a record, that she had a wealthy husband and that she was there to witness a attorney. They both dash through the lobby and locate the attorney using the only information he can disclose is that they ought to investigate those closest to her. as well as that his forensic accounting is the area of expertise. The investigator requested that woman's hubby on the phone. The elderly security guard is currently in search of the water in the basement. He tells the firefighters and they proceed, shattering through the wall. Still in the basement, he discovers a water dipped wire that attempts to remove it. Shortly after, in the lobby, the individuals that are assembled begin to scream as he tumbles over. The investigators rush to his defense, but he dies on the elevator. The three surviving individuals begin to quarrel. Once more, the two investigators return at the workplace, claiming that the husband of the younger woman may have planned everything since he is the owner of the security firm operating in the structure. The police believe the security guard inside the elevator is accountable and that the two more victims were merely a decoy. The light in the elevator go out again. Once more, the elevator instructs them to employ using the displays of their phones as flashlights, but their phones are torn from them. When the lights go off the following time they return, the security guard has passed away. The two remaining individuals take a chunk of glass in an emergency and be ready to protect themselves. The detective, desperate, begs the younger protect how he can assist them. He advises that they ought to take accountability for their identity. Thus, the investigators tells a personal life with them regarding that and requests that they put down the glass. They unwillingly do it, and all of a sudden the lights come on out once more and they return to the ground. On the ground, a young woman is lying with a glass fragment lodged in her throat. As the man is seen attempting to assist her, the elderly woman's body rises behind he, declaring that now is his turn. The man has flashback in which he is operating a vehicle. When he crashes, he is reaching for a better into another vehicle. He exits his vehicle and observes the other is woman who is pinned in a ditch by car. But she points before she passes away to her toddler who was sprawled in front of the vehicle. The man is shocked by what he has done and departs, leaving a message on the other vehicle's window. He continues to repeat the elevator that he apologizes and pleads with the elderly woman. Devil to take him rather than the devil won't give them the young lady deal. The elevator is flung down the shaft. When it comes to an end, the man locates the radio belonging to the engineer and begins to speak. He informs the detective as his actions. The teenage guards and the detective are hearing him out and understanding what that means. The young woman was in the elevator, dies in his arm at last, and the devil is upset, claiming she wanted him so much that the lights went out and turned once again because the firefighters are opening the elevator's door. The only person still alive is the man. The devil spared. Later, the elderly woman had vanished. The bodies are being removed by the paramedics and the investigator notices a man seated in the lobby. He promises to take him to the station. The two of them are then spotted in a vehicle. The detective is the man in the backseat. Informs him that his family was the ones that he slain on that day. However, after all this time, please remember to subscribe if you forgive him. Activate alerts so you can observe more videos for watching. stay with us. Thank you for viewing.